Before I conduct the job that I'm here to do, I want to tell you a little bit about what I bring to the table. Now, I've been very involved with the party at home in Texas, all the way from a poll watcher to alternate election judge to delegate to the Texas Convention, and also statewide alternate delegate to the National Convention. And as the national director and co-founder of the Remembrance Project for over 14 years, I introduced the Angel Moms and Dads to Donald Trump in 2015. Donald Trump was my keynote speaker at our first national conference. Steve Bannon was our keynote speaker at our second national conference. So I keep good company. In 2017, President Trump signed executive orders. One was to build a wall, if you recall, and to create the Office of Voice in order to assist the families of the victims who were killed by illegal aliens. After signing the executive orders, I'm proud to say that President Trump had to be the pens with which he signed those orders. So we've done a lot of work, ladies and gentlemen. In October 2020, President Trump made our National Remembrance Day for Americans killed by illegal aliens official by signing our proclamation. And now lastly, I testified before Congress on national security, right alongside the President of the Border Patrol Council, Brandon Judd, and the chairman of that House Oversight Committee was none other than your then Congressman Ron DeSantis. So now for the business at hand. And I am pleased and honored today to introduce my fellow grassroots conservative, Joe Kaufman. You know, Mr. Kaufman has been a strong advocate for education and initiatives such as school choice, and one of mine that I really believe in is vocational training in high schools. He will work with America's first president. You know Donald Trump will be reelected, ladies and gentlemen. To increase American energy, lower inflation to the levels we enjoyed 4 years ago. Joe Kaufman has a credential to make an immediate impact in Congress on the most important issues destroying our nation, national security and foreign policy. Through his counterterrorism work, Joe has spent decades protecting our borders. Joe will not reward those who cross our borders illegally with an amnesty. Very, very important. There are no gray areas, ladies and gentlemen. Either we are a nation of laws or we become a lawless nation. There is no room for far left talking points and their wokens. We must send the most knowledgeable, the most qualified candidate who will defeat Jared Moskowitz. Yeah. And the person, my friend, Joe Kaufman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Joe Kaufman.
My makeshift podium here. Excuse my voice, I've been giving a lot of speeches lately. I don't know why. Thank you, Maria, for those kind words. Thank you, Michelle, for putting this together.
I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Oh.
Yeah, keep going.
Sorry, my question. Thank you to my wife, Emily. Where's Emily? Thank you so much, Emily. My campaign manager, Sean. Please give Sean some applause. Thank you to my fellow YR alumnus, Chip. I don't think Chip's in here anymore. And thank you, Florida Federation of Republican Women, for helping to promote and expand the conservative cause. My name is Joe Kaufman. I come to you today as a lifelong Republican activist and someone who, like our nation's founders and so many of you, believes in protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yep. I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Me too.
And raised by my grandparents in Yonkers, New York. My grandfather, George, was a staunch Democrat, but he did not like to discuss politics. He was a sports fanatic. So our conversations mostly revolved around the Yankees and Giants. My grandmother Ruth, on the other hand, was a Republican. She was a proud supporter of Richard Nixon and had fallen in love with a new candidate, someone by the name of Ronald Reagan. She was obsessed with this man, not unlike how people feel about President Trump today. At 10 years old, my grandma would take me door to door for soon-to-be President Reagan. I would accompany her to the Reagan rallies. We would sit in the living room and watch the Reagan-Jimmy Carter debates together. These were bonding moments for me and my best friend, my grandma, watching someone who the entire country would come to admire, even many Democrats, Ronald Reagan. I remember Jimmy Carter. I remember waiting online for gas with my mom for 2 hours. I remember the hostage crisis in Iran. And I remember clipping coupons with my grandparents as the price of food soared during massive inflation. Today, with Joe Biden in office, the situation is eerily similar. Gas prices are up. We're still threatened by Iran, albeit this time Iran's on the verge of acquiring nuclear weapons. And today, I find myself once again clipping coupons. However, back then, Reagan came in and changed all that. And soon, Donald Trump is going to come back in and change things once again. And I plan to be there to help President Trump every step of the way. First, we must fix the situation with our borders. My great-grandparents, Max and Esther, came to America to escape the horrors of Europe and the Nazis. Following their arrival to Ellis Island in New York, they went through the lengthy legal process to become Americans. When they received their citizenships, they kissed the ground before them. My wife, Emily, came to America by way of Peru and Israel. She spent many years working hard and making little money just to experience the freedoms that make our nation special. She did so the right way, legally. She is offended by those who come across the border illegally, cutting the line, not looking for freedom, but instead in search of a free ride. Millions of illegal aliens flood our borders every year. Some are terrorists, some are gang members, some are human traffickers, some are drug dealers. And while many are none of the above, all have committed a serious crime by arriving on our shores in such a way. When it comes to this type of unlawful behavior, the Biden administration ignores the issue, undeterred by the consequences facing our nation, while encouraging others to do the same, from murder and fentanyl abuse to sexual slavery and terrorist cells. Right. If unchecked, the disarray and chaos felt at the border will quickly lead to America's destruction. Unfortunately, one of my primary opponents, Darlene Swaffer, believes, like the Biden administration, that illegal immigrants need to be embraced and welcomed into our shores. She repeatedly uses the same terminology that Joe Biden and the Democrats use: undocumented immigrants. On her official website, she says she wants a, quote, fair and humane process for undocumented immigrants to earn legal status. But there is nothing fair and humane about illegal immigration. We only have to look at the toll human trafficking and the drug trade have had on our nation and other nations to see that this is a dangerous policy. And how many people are we talking about getting amnesty under the Biden-Swaffer plan? Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Millions? Me? I agree with President Trump. Recently, a bomb maker from Hezbollah was caught coming over the border and headed for New York. Could we imagine that guy getting a legal status here in America? Well, with the Biden administration and Darlene Swaffer, all bets are off. We've no choice but to bring back rule of law. For over 2 decades, I have been protecting our borders from terrorists and others. I've assisted Homeland Security, Department of Defense, Secret Service, and the FBI to go after those who wish to do us harm. One of the former leaders of Homeland Security in Florida credited me with him getting his promotion. My work in this field has led to the shutdown of terrorist charities and the imprisonment of terror-related individuals. Indeed, I was the one who got the pro-Hamas conference that was to take place at the Coral Springs Marriott shut down this past January. And I was the one who supplied the evidence about the radical imam Fadi Kablawi, who called for an annihilation of Jews, to the state of Florida and State Representative Randy Fine's office. I was concerned about the fact that the private school Kablawi founded, Reviver Academy, was getting tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer-funded school vouchers, also known as education scholarships. I am proud to say that the state is beginning to take action against this genocidal imam and his school, and I am proud to have played a major role in this process. State Representative Fine said, quote, "None of this would have taken place without Joe Kaufman exposing the evidence about Kablawi and his school," end quote. Thank you. Let me make it 100% clear. Any institution that is linked to violence against Jews, Christians, or anyone else should not receive one dime of taxpayer funds. And speaking of vouchers, I want you all to know that I'm a huge proponent of school choice. In fact, I have been heavily involved in this. In June 2018, Emily and I were honored to be invited to the White House to lobby the Trump administration on school choice. After meeting with top leadership within the administration, we were broken up into groups. A half dozen of us, including Emily and I, were sent to meet with then Congressman Ron DeSantis. He greeted us as he was sitting with his arms and legs crossed, his big cowboy boots on for all to see. I was the speaker for the group. I said, "Congressman, as a part of the faith community, we care very much about our children's religious education." I told him that for us, it was not a choice, that it was mandatory for us to send our children to religious school, even if it meant paying every dime we made in our jobs for it. I told him that it was very expensive. He asked, "How expensive?" I turned to Emily, Emily, where are you? And I turned to Emily and asked, "Emily, how expensive is it?" Emily replied, "We pay $16,000. At that moment, Representative DeSantis went back on his seat, opened his eyes and mouth wide, and said, "That is expensive." And if you know private school costs, that's on the low end. I said that we pay our taxes, and we would like to get something off for our children's education. I am proud to say that one of the first things Ron DeSantis did when he became governor was pass one of the largest school choice bills in America. And while I don't take complete credit for that happening, I think I can get some credit for it, for being a big voice in the push for school choice. Didn't even know that rhymed when I was writing this. Another education initiative I want to implement as congressman is vocational training for our nation's high schools. So many of our kids today elect not to attend college or university, whether because of money or they just don't feel the need for it. In many circumstances, that's justified. And really, just look at the type of students our most prestigious universities are churning out. More like terrorists than students. God help us if any of these monsters are the future of our country. Why not give our kids real life skills so that if they choose not to attend an institution of higher learning, they can immediately enter the workforce? We certainly don't need kids remaining home, eating off their parents, and frankly, our country. When I went to school in Yonkers, New York, the city of Yonkers implemented vocational training for all its high schools. My school, Roosevelt, had media training. Gordon had computer science. Saunders had engineering. Others had woodshop and car shop. I had the opportunity and chose to go to the University of Maryland. Go Terps. But at least I had that choice. Finally, we need to bring down our nation's debt and end inflation. No doubt the Biden administration has placed our nation in a terrible rut. One that will be near impossible to repair if Donald Trump is not reelected. That is 100% true, and we all know it. My daughter is growing up in a time where she needs to know what BOGO means. You know, buy one, get one free. It used to be that BOGO was a perk at the supermarket, but today it is a necessity. The BOGO price today is the same price as our regular purchases 2 years ago. We must cut spending in our nation, but at the same time, we must bring up energy. Under President Trump, we were energy independent. Under President Trump, the sequel, we must be energy dominant. Never should we rely on places like Venezuela or Saudi Arabia for our energy needs. Not when we have all of those beautiful resources right here in the US of A. And don't buy, yes, drill baby drill. And don't buy into what those climate crisis people have to say. One of which is another opponent in my race. By the way, I'm running against 2 Democrats. One in the general, and one actually in the GOP primary. In truth, the only way to have and keep a thriving and attractive environment is by having a thriving economy to pay for it. We only have to look at third world nations who have no economy. The people live in squalor and their environment is garbage, literally. We need to protect our borders and finish that wall. We need to focus on our kids' educations with more choice and real life skills. We need to bring down the debt and inflation and bring up energy. We need to re-elect President Donald J. Trump and send me to Congress so I can help him.
Yes.
Life, liberty, and happiness. I'm Joe Kaufman. Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention really quick, I wanted to mention the endorsements that I've received. Some of them. Got Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Real patriot. Major General Paul Vallely. Working Mothers for Donald Trump International. Niger Innes, National Spokesman for the Congress of Racial Equality, or CORE. Dr. Ken Abramowitz, Chairman of Citizens for National Security. Sue and Larry Snowden. And of course, Maria Espinoza. My website is www.kaufmanforcongress.com. Thank you so much.